Yo, hi everyone, this is Papa Zero here once again on Windows 95, and today we will be going over what an explosive arrow ballista totems build should look like. That's right, you heard me perfectly through my thick accents. Everyone knows that an explosive arrow ballista totems build should both ignite and poison. Now, let me bleed on this a little bit for you. The story, based on real events behind this build, goes as follows. A few days ago, I was sitting outside my front yard, brewing a nice poisonous concoction in my cauldron to give to my future Pathfinders. And all of a sudden, I had an inkling to look up. I felt like something was about to happen. Right at that moment, a star came whooshing through the blue night sky. I followed the star with my eyes, and I noticed a small yellow dot appearing out of thin air amongst 1.5 million stars. I stopped following the star with my eyes because it was no longer of interest to me. I only mention it to begin with because I want to share the full and honest story with you. My face was glued to the tiny ember that grew in size, wondering what it was. Very quickly, it became huge. And soon it was evident that it was a meteor shower heading right towards me. As the rock and debris flew all around me, setting things on fire, I did not falter. I stood my ground. A small fiery stone flew right for me, and I managed to capture the fragment with my bare hands. It seared my hands pretty good after hanging on to it just for a few seconds. But I had to have it. I had to throw it in my cauldron, for that was the last ingredient that was needed for the build to be born. Now I get it, guys. Hearing such a traumatic story can be quite hard to hear, but it really happened. Papa Z, cool story, bro. But how is this better than regular EA Ignite Totem build? Next question, please. No. Serious here. We're serious. Is this better? I'm not sure. I've never played regular Ignite only totems before, so maybe if you have, speak on it. Let me know your thoughts. But let me assure you, poison does indeed go to work on this build, and I'll show you that in a little bit, where I ensure that no ignitage is used on a whole map. Truth be told, I want to see more ignite and poison hybrid builds in the world, and so I thought this would be a great way to go about it. Also, I've shown you plenty of melee builds and spell using builds, so I want to try some a little bit different, a different archetype. Also, to those who do not know, poison and ignite kind of conflict with each other. Poison wants a huge duration because not only does the poison stack infinitely, it also deals the same damage over time. So if you have 1 milli damage and it's over 10 seconds, well, that's 10 milli poison damage at the end of that 10-second duration. Whereas with Ignite, you can only have 1 stack on an enemy, and therefore you want the duration to be as short as possible. So if you have a 10 milli Ignite damage over 10 seconds, well, that's 1 milli damage over each second, also resulting at 10 milli damage at the end of the 10-second duration. So the shorter the duration for Ignite, the better. The longer the duration for poison, the better. Now, that being said, I did a lot of testing, and some people may turn their heads away with a disapproval in their eyes from me using Unbound Ailments gem support and temp chains on my gloves, because it indeed does add huge duration to the ignites, but it just felt the best for me personally, and so I done used both those things. Now, of course, you can have items that speed up the ailment's damage up to make both poison and ignite do damage faster, meaning the same amount of damage in a shorter period of time, but I did not want to go that route on this build because of gearing choices, limitation of my times, and trying to make both poison and ignite work. Again, if you guys got suggestions, I'm all ears. Alright, let's take a look at the map right here. I used Elemental Focus instead of Unbound Ailments support gem in my setups, so we do not ignite at all. Matter of fact, we're taking damage away from our poison. Bow! So this is even a slight handicap for the poison damage. I know, crazy! Sorry guys, not sure why my frames were dropping so bad. When I was recording, I actually did not have an issue with my game. I think I need to put another fan in front of my computer. Sure, it's not as fast or as cool as when we also ignite, but I really wanted to showcase that poison wasn't just a gimmick in this build. It actually does damage. Obviously, when the explosion happens, that's when most of the poison gets delivered into our prey. So very similar to the ignite only based EA builds in that aspect. TLDR, when the arrow goes boom boom, the enemy goes bye bye. Nice. Yeah, it took few extra seconds to kill this boss, but come on guys, you can't be mad about that. It's pretty cool. This is, of course, the original Sin Ring build. We want to apply as much wither to our enemies as possible, and we do that through our blink arrow, which is linked to Withering Touch. We do that through Frenzy with GMP with Barrage, which is linked to Withering Touch. It's a little bit clunky, maybe during mapping, but I really enjoyed using it, especially on bosses. We're of course using Black Flame, just because it adds ton of DPS because they take chaos damage instead of fire, and of course due to our OS ring it's at 0. We have the beautiful +4 chest, making our explosive arrow a grand total of 25. With us having the main skill in our chest enabled me to use a cool elemental bow such as this, which added ton of damage, which I was happy with. It has elemental damage, of course, it has dot, it has attack speed, and fire damage is extra chaos. Nice. Using the Blasphemer's Grasp with temp chains on hit, and I try to utilize the 4% to damage over time multiplier per elder item as much as I could. Alas, I could only get 4 items total. The Blasphemer's Grasp was a last minute choice, but I realized it adds damage to both the ignite and poison. Very nice. Very cool item. Maybe in the future, if I make another ignite and poison hybrid, maybe I'll go all out, guys. We'll see. Blizzard Ground gives us a little bit more flat damage. Again, helping our poison do more damage. We're of course using Zerfried's Heart to be able to ignite. That's right. We get Onslaught through Sleepless Sentries, and I cap out my chance to poison via Relic. Initially, I actually traveled right here to get a little bit of life and get these poison nodes right here, but unfortunately I had like 3200 life, and I was like, that's not very good now. So I dropped all that, got the Relic, and got this cluster right here. Yes. The main reason why I chose Ascendant is because of the freedom we have on the passive tree. There's just no way to effectively get all the nodes I wanted and then some with any other ascendancies. I also wanted to intimidate the enemies because again, anytime an enemy can take increased damage, it's a straight up multiplier. So this was basically 10% more damage, as well as the Berserker, which is 15% more damage. Now, it's not just because of this mastery node that we're running clarity and precision. I actually needed the precision to get to almost 100% chance. Not quite, but it's pretty much 100. We're also self-casting our totems using mana. So that's why I have clarity, so we can sustain the casting. And then Divergent Herald of Agony once again to get that 100% chance to poison. And Malevolence. Last but not least, Elemental Overload, of course, helping our ignite and poison. And obviously we don't do any damage ourselves, so we can have an additional +1 to maximum number of summoned totems, Ancestral Bond. Now super lastly, I had a spare Unnatural Instinct Jewel, so I placed it here for them sweet damage nodes. And also the Rain of Splinters Crimson Jewel. So each totem fires 2 additional projectiles. Very nice. For defense, we got Steel Skin. Yeah, sorry guys. I didn't really think about defenses for this build. It was basically just, glass cannon. And honestly, besides the little bit of flask usage, we ain't got no defenses, so don't get hit. Alright, alternative setups. If you want to build this build a little bit more defensively, you could look into something like Incandescent Heart, but of course you would want to max out, or more than max out, your chaos resistances. You could use Lore Weave. Ooh, so nice. I actually thought about using the Abhorrent interrogation gloves on this build just because we're not doing the damage. So, you know, the last line, your hits cannot penetrate or ignore elemental resistances, don't apply to us. But I already apply Wither through so many different ways, I didn't feel the need to do it. Plus, I was kind of on the Elder items bandwagon, so I didn't do it. And for some reason, POB shows that the damage is smaller for some reason. Of course, I inputted the temporal chains on hit version, but POB just says less damage, so didn't use them. But this would have been a super cool application. I'm using Fan the Flames to spread our ignites. But if you wanted to do a different setup, maybe not restrict yourself to Elder items only, not using Blasphemer's gloves, you could, of course, get some nice, beautiful rare gloves with ignites that spread on gloves. Of course, the good old Progenesis, yeah, I'll use that instead of one of the other flasks. If you have an Impossible Escape Jewel, that's the Ancestral Bond version, you could get all these nodes right here. You could get this life. You would miss out on these last 2 points right here, and of course the masteries themselves, but you could kind of eliminate all of this, maybe find a way to get elemental overload on your person, maybe through a certain skin of the Lord's armor, maybe, and then maybe don't even travel up here. Maybe go here. Maybe go here, go anywhere. The passive tree is your ocean. It would take a little bit of fine-tuning though. And you would lose 1 totem. Lastly, if you don't need the poison chance on your relic, maybe you can, you know, if you have trouble casting your totems, get reduced mana cost of attacks. Now, my tree has quite a bit of mana regen and I'm actually running clarity, but if you have mana issues, maybe look into reduced mana cost of attacks relic, or maybe even the implicit that you can craft yourself on a helm. I actually messed around with Burning Arrow initially, and you guys got to try it out. It's actually pretty fun. Like the clear, pretty good. The single target DPS, oh, it's horrible. It's really, really bad, but clear, it felt actually better and nicer than EA. So try it out, guys. Let me know. Truth be told, unfortunately, this build is not going to have no Original Sin ring setup, because when you take the ring off, your chaos damage basically disappears. Our damage is about 1/8 with poison, and so you might as well just not even be playing poison with this build. No Original Sin ring. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with another beautiful build.